Each year, millions of Americans travel across the country to visit popular vacation spots. Those travelers seek sunshine and relaxation. Not all travelers are those travelers. There is a darker side to tourism. Sometimes, these grim destinations are found off the beaten path, and other times they are hidden in plain sight. The holiday underworld of the macabre is a vast country, full of history and mystery and of things seldom seen by the average tourist. Two fine, strange gentlemen have made it their mission to map the macabre and to create a functional roadmap of Erie America. Occult researcher and author, Verner, better known by his pen name Corvis Nocturnum, and his colleague, law professor and paranormal researcher Kevin Eads, are on an impassioned journey. This unlikely pairing seeks out and documents the top destinations for tourists who choose dark tourism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on Paranormal Zone TV. Thanks everyone for joining me tonight. Now tonight, it's a little different show tonight. I have two, everybody please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. We'd really appreciate it. But tonight I have two authors and they have written a book on Eerie America. And both authors of this book. Hey, let's welcome Eric and Kevin to the show. Hey, guys, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Not a problem at all.
And so do you want to tell them a little bit about why you started this book before we start going into some of the locations and what actually this book is all about?
Eric, I'll let you start since it was originally your idea and I came aboard.
Well, it started when I was finishing one of my degrees at the college where Kevin taught at. And during one of the 3-day weekends we had, I did an art showing in Philadelphia. And during that time, I had some, extra couple hours in the day to kill. I went by East State Penitentiary on my way to visit the Mutter Museum. And it's a museum for physicians where they have a lot of bizarre artifacts and odd creatures in formaldehyde and largest skull collection, things like that. But it dawned on me while I was touring the place. Someone mentioned the Edgar Allan Poe Museum, and I thought that there's got to be more places like this. And I was just curious what all else was out there. And I thought about it on the way back home, and I met up with Kevin, and I said I could really use your help since you like history and, odd, haunted, things like that. So I thought we should put it together as a book since I'd already written, at that point, a dozen different titles, and Kevin was pretty prolific in doing horror books, so he definitely had an interest in it.
Mm-hmm. And we kind of expanded to a degree. It was originally in more places to see, and then we added places to stay, like the motels, hotels, to make it an inclusive vacation, places to eat, restaurants when you're on a vacation. And as Eric described, it was kind of like the Fedora's travel guide for the Addams family. Where would the Addams family like to go if they took a family vacation? And later, when we started working on the show, we added the concept of where to shop. The TV needs to be on. So we added a lot over time.
Okay. And so now the whole concept though is for bizarre and macabre tourism, right? That was why you wanted to put that out?
Absolutely. Now, most of it will go to, be more haunted, horror-oriented things, but we also have a few in the alien abduction and things of that nature as well, like the Roswell, the UFO Museum in Roswell, and the Little Alien and things of that as well, because I think it all goes together into the macabre.
Yeah. Have you guys had any personal experiences?
Yes. You mean it's some of the places in the book?
Yeah. Okay. So you know what? I thought tonight, since you have so many locations in the book, that we would start with. How about we start with Lizzie Borden? How about that?
Lizzie Borden was great because that's Eric and I got to go together, and it's it's a major case from back in the I believe late 1800s, and it's a hotel, obviously, so it's a place. In the book, people could stay, and a lot of people spend the night there, obviously, besides taking tours. And it was a really amazing place. Eric and I really enjoyed it. As I say, we had a chance to film there when we did our initial sizzle reel. And while I didn't have any personal experiences because we didn't stay the night, they were pretty booked that night. We did the tour and learned the fascinating history behind everything. Plus, we got some really great photos of Eric and I doing some fun things at the place.
Yeah, we had a little fun with that. One of our associate producers actually noticed I was dressed a little bit similar to Mr. Borden and had me lay on the same sofa in the same position as the crime scene photo and put that up on my Facebook for a while.
Mm-hmm. So what did you get out of going to the Lizzie Borden house?
Just more honestly, there was more the history, learning about what happened and questioning was she really responsible or not. Other people that have been there's been a lot of ghost hunting groups over the years. I was in the ghost hunting group in Indiana, so we did different things there, but we didn't have time to do anything like that because they're a very busy place, and we were there kind of during the season, so they didn't really have time for us to do an investigation and such. But they were very cooperative and very helpful in getting us, information for everything.
Well, did you try? Now I know you're a law professor?
Yes, I've been a law instructor for 8 years, and I'm taking a little time away from that at the moment to work on the writing. But yes,
and
so the whole legal aspect of everything was kind of interesting.
So with this crime that and was never really solved, you were. I heard that. I mean, I had seen a video on you that you were pretty interested in how and who did this crime.
Right, and reality is it's been so long, we'll probably never know. It's anyone's guess. Did she really do it? I honestly don't know. There's a case to be made both for and against, and I don't have the answer.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you recommend about? Then you recommend this is one of your recommendations in your book for the
absolutely. The thing is, as I say, they were very busy when we were in the area shooting our initial trailer, and so we didn't have time to stay overnight. But we know that if you had a chance to stay overnight, it would be a whole other experience. Let's be honest, the nighttime really livens up the imagination. You really have a chance to let your imagination really flow free, so you can imagine what happened. You could probably hear any creak that goes on in the house and imagine it to be something other than what it may be. And just think of the excitement you have at this historical house with this, major unsolved case, spending the night and just letting your imagination run wild. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the type of thing I love.
Yeah, I understand. They have a lot of people who stay there have a lot of experiences.
Yes, absolutely. And again, just because you say that doesn't mean you'll have one. That's the thing. Anyone who's studied the paranormal or been part of any paranormal research team realizes that some nights you'll catch something and some nights you won't. I mean, we went on a lot of hunts over the years back in my old group and got absolutely nothing at places that were supposed to be really wild and active.
Mm-hmm. Eric, do you have anything to say?
Like Kevin, one of the things that fascinated me the most was the true crime aspect of it. And while Kevin was actually doing some of the preliminary production work being filmed with the owner of the establishment, I got to just look around totally on my own at the remake of the building. And I've always been a huge fan of the Victorian period and the Gothic aesthetic because of the books that I personally write. investigating Gothic subculture. So it was kind of a treat to me to be able to put my criminal justice degree that I was earning along with the books that I was personally drawn to. It kind of like solidified two different aspects of myself. So I really enjoyed it, and I didn't get any weird vibes there. I got more of a sense of nostalgia than anything, and I think that the owners out there, even though they have a little gift shop that I try to point people to occasionally, they have books and memorabilia, little bobbleheads and everything of Lizzie. They do an excellent job in challenging people, telling them what did happen. There's some evidence that's in a glass curio case in the dining room that people can look at, and they want you to make up your own mind as far as what happened, and they didn't try to spoon feed you what they think happened personally. So it was quite the experience for me.
All right, so another location in your book is the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Museum.
Right. St. Augustine, in and of itself, is an amazing city. Have you ever been there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you have to. It's definitely an inspiring town. As a writer, I can go there and have all types of inspiration. Being the oldest city in the U.S., you've got, that's been long-standing. It's got such an amazing history. And before I go to the lighthouse, they do ghost tours the city itself that they'll walk you through and show you the history and places that are said to be haunted along the way. And the lighthouse is supposedly one of them, and you definitely get an odd vibe when you go. I remember watching I've been there on a handful of occasions, but I remember watching the episode of Ghost Hunters when they were there, and they picked up a lot of activity within the place, stuff that it was obvious that something was going on. Anytime there's activity, you can question, but here there was obviously something going on. And lighthouses are places that have a history, along with prisons and hospitals, places that have a history of being haunted. There's a lot of energy left behind from the families who had stayed there.
Well, there's several hauntings that go on in that location, and one they call the Man in Blue. Evidently, he must have been, he was a former innkeeper, and he was very angry because he was forced, I guess, to sell off some of his property. And he's one of the hauntings that happened. And there's also the little girls that were drowned. There's several little girls that were drowned, and they're also seen at the lighthouse. They're haunting it as well.
There's a lot of reports of the children, that have died on the grounds. And again, remember, during these times, people have large families, and of the children who lived, there might have been 8 children born, and maybe 4 would have survived, up to adulthood or whatever the case may be. So, you have a lot of families staying there over the years. There's going to be a lot of unfortunate death. And Florida especially too. Remember, at that time, you didn't have air conditioning, you didn't have the amenities we have today, and you have a lot of mosquitoes, and you have a lot of diseases that can be carried that way. And when you're along the coast, believe me, you can get very uncomfortable, and a lot of things can be spread.
Yeah. So since we're at St. Augustine right now, talking about the lighthouse, you also had mentioned. I know that the city of St. Augustine is very, very haunted. And do you have anything to add to the city of St. Augustine?
The Ripley's Museum is another place. It's an old mansion.
Oh, I know. Kevin, we're going to go into that. I just want to know about because I just want to know about the city itself.
Oh, yeah, as I mentioned, they do some amazing ghost tours. The groups will take you around. The cemeteries are a lot smaller, but there's kind of old European style, where the casket and such is buried above the ground rather than below. And the old, I forget the type of tree it's called, but you see down in the deep south in the plantations when you're walking along the road with the moss growing off.
Yeah.
Spanish moss, there you go. You have that. It adds to the eeriness of everything. It's just an amazing city to walk through. There's so much history, and they treasure their history. They value their history, and let's be honest. In today's society, when you walk through the cities, a lot of it is strip malls and new buildings, and the old buildings have been torn down, and history has been devalued in a lot of places. But there in St. Augustine, they absolutely value their history.
Oh yeah, I think all the South does. I've been,
and that's nice because again, where I'm from originally in Indiana, they tore down the old places, the old hospitals, the old department stores, the old, the buildings that had histories. They've been torn down, and they put up these nondescript, strip malls. They'll tear down the old beautiful Gothic churches and replace them with what feels like an auditorium. You really lose the sense of history in certain parts of the country, and when you see a city value it, you really respect that.
Right. Yeah, I've been to Louisiana and Savannah, Georgia, and they are
beautiful places.
Oh my God, they're amazing. All right, so next on the list is Mutter's Museum.
Oh, the Mutter in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia.
Right.
That was the one location that inspired the book and the television show in the first place for me. It was just educational yet creepy all at the same time, and I think that is the whole heart of this entire concept, is to educate the general public by giving them information while at the same time letting them experience, as I jokingly like to call it at the beginning, is the Addams Family Travel Guide, but since of course that was copywritten, we had to go with Erie America Travel Guide and Macabre instead.
Mm-hmm. I have some pictures I'm showing the viewers of some of the content that is inside the building. For instance, the lady that had the 9.5-inch horn on her head that was growing out of her head. I have another. They have a display of two babies, I guess, that were conjoined, and legs are coming out from the sides of them. Did you? And then, what about that poor man with that colon that's on top of the table? I don't know how, the thing is huge, huge.
It's almost a medical version of Ripley's, believe it or not, and. You always see the mad scientist lab with the odd creatures that almost look human and embryos in jars of formaldehyde. This place had it. They had the bust of Chang and Ang, the conjoined twins that were circus performers, I believe, for most of their lives. They had the saponified woman.
The soap lady. The soap lady?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, soap lady is what she's referred to, where her body actually became so, decomposed in so much fat and liquid that it filled the area. And because a lot of people don't know that the fat in the body actually, originally, fat is what made up the primary ingredient of lye to make soap. And, they have the world's largest human skull collection from all over the world. There's the largest and the smallest living human being, many years old now, but skeletons of like a giant and a midget.
They also, I'm also showing them the genetic mutation where of this skeleton, and the muscle had turned to bone.
Yes. There's so many fascinating places. You almost have to go through it twice.
Oh yeah, it's pretty large. It looks like it's a pretty large place.
Yeah, and it inspired me to keep doing more and more of these places. I mean, I've always been a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft. That's what got me into writing the darker subjects. But not everything we focus on is morbid. Some of it's just plain fun. It's like it's almost Disneyland travel for adults who never grew up out of the Halloween mentality. But we also want to bring it to a level that just anybody can enjoy.
Mm-hmm. So you would highly recommend this as a location to visit?
Oh, definitely. I don't care if you're a medical student or a fan of horror films. And it's going to give you something to take away from.
Yeah, I've seen this many times on TV, and I've always been fascinated with it. Okay,
Right.
so, okay, Kevin, Ripley's.
Yes.
Ripley's, believe it or not.
Well, there's so many, but I really mentioned one in St. Augustine. Now, since I was a child, anytime we went to a city that had a Ripley's, I would visit. So I've been to the one in Hollywood. I've been to the one in Key West, Orlando, Niagara Falls, Wisconsin Dells. So, I've been all over. But the one in St. Augustine is just something else. It's a beautiful old mansions to begin with, and it's a very creepy place. Now, I'm not someone who just goes off of feelings. A lot of people do, and that's fine. But this place definitely, I got the creeps when I walked through it. It was an old winter home for a millionaire who spent his winters in the area, and then a high-class hotel before Ripley's bought it. And I think it was one of the first Ripley's museums to begin with. But there's an optical illusion of a woman in a shower, and when you're at this place, you feel something. And I guess there was a fire at that area at one point. I believe someone died in the fire. So,
Yes.
Is it that person? I really don't know, but I can tell you that me, someone who doesn't normally get feelings, got one and got a little creeped out.
Yeah, it was in 1944, there was a fire, and there were 2 ladies that perished. And,
Okay.
yeah.
That's right. It's been a while since I wrote the book.
Oh, I know.
But it's definitely, and again, it's such a statuesque place. It's a beautiful place. The only thing about St. Augustine is things close early. It's a town where the places tend to close at 4 or 5 o'clock. If you're a couple hours away in Orlando, everything stays open till 11 or 12. They're going to get their bucks out of you any way they can, but here, they close it early. It's more Old South, I guess, in that regard.
Yeah. I'm showing them some pictures of the oddities that are there, like the Chinese fella who guided the American dignitaries in Chungking, and he would walk around with the candle on his head, and that's what he used for light.
Yeah, I guess he had that hole in his head, absolutely. Very unusual. Or the guy with the 2 pupils, he had 2 pupils in each eye, I believe it was. Just some very strange things you see, but they're always very interesting, and you're always going, I'll be honest, anytime you go to a Ripley's museum, you're going to enjoy yourself, especially if you're a little odd like I am.
Oh, yeah, there's an awful... Now, what about that huge Ferris wheel that's in that museum?
Oh, it's amazing. That's one of the first things you see when you walk in, and it's just it's a beautiful work of art.
And then there's the stained glass window. Now, is that the top or off to the side? That huge stained glass window. I'm
trying to remember because it's been a few years since I've been there last, so I'm trying to put it all in my head right now, but I honestly don't remember.
Oh, okay.
And that's sad because I have been there a number of times.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you feel anything? And now it is known to be haunted. The employees, they hear crying and moaning, and they hear women whimpering. The cash register will pop open all by itself. And they hear their names being called.
Yeah, it's, as I say, it's definitely an eerie feeling when you walk in, especially that one area where we mentioned the fire took place. That is a place where you'll definitely get an uncomfortable feeling. Even people like me that really don't get feelings. I'm not psychic. I'm nothing. I have no gifts like that. But even I would get a feeling, and I asked about it later on the St. Augustine Ghost Tour, and I asked about the place, and they told me that I was absolutely right. There was definitely something going on in that place, in that particular area where I had the uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we move on now to the Lafayette Cemetery?
Eric, it's all you. He's the New Orleans guy.
I've only been down that way twice, but I like Salem when we went there. The French Quarter is probably, in my opinion, one of the best locations that I had the pleasure of going around. Lafayette Cemetery really stood out to me because I'm a big vampire fan and love Anne Rice. And the fact that I found out that the Lafayette Cemetery is one of the locations they used for filming the turning scene of Louis by Lestat really piqued my curiosity. And the fact that it's one of the oldest cemeteries in the South was intriguing to me. They definitely have that sunken graves and moss hanging sort of thing. The great, big, huge wrought iron gate in the front. It looks like it came right out of the classic Hammer horror film.
Yeah. Well, also, if you notice, all the graves are above ground.
Yeah, because they're so far below sea level, they have to do that. Or if they would have buried people outside of, in conventional graves, the bodies probably would have all been washed away by now. But since they're in the raised crypts, it protects them for the family's sake. But for a tourist, it's just beyond creepy. You almost feel like you're in, for the most part, during the entire tour through the French border, you almost feel like you're back in time in old Europe.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go to Europe, a lot of times, a lot of the cemeteries also have the above-ground style. So besides being smart to keep the bodies from being washed out, there's also a little bit of the French background, to the city as well.
Right.
Of course. Yeah. Unless you're talking the catacombs under Paris.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a different story. So, when you were walking around the cemetery, did you get any feelings? Did you hear anything? Anything paranormal happen to you?
Not me. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I brought Kevin in for his background, and we brought in another co-host, Rebecca Danielle Kirschbaum, who was actually on SyFy School Spirits, because she's a medium. Because I'm rather the team skeptic and a bit jaded, too excited about these places to actually feel any fear. I'm going in as a occult researcher and objective scholar. We're not trying to claim to be a paranormal show, but if something does stand out to one of the other two, then I'm sure they're going to be the first ones to get the attention of the director and camera crew.
Right. Now, what about you, Kevin?
For me personally, I didn't sense anything. Other than a feeling of mystery and awe. I love the look.
Hunting groups, but I'm not an absolute skeptic. I believe in the possibility of just about anything, but I like to see proof. So I can get a little weirded out. I definitely get some weirded out feelings at some of these places, but that could be an overactive imagination. I've written so many books and more that are on the way that I have a very vivid imagination.
Yeah. All right, so then shall we move on to the Burying Point Cemetery? And this was in Salem. This one's really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What stood out to me about that particular cemetery, that was the one where I did the speech on what dark tourism is for the first trailer that we did when we were touring Salem. That has a lot of history to it, because it was the burial grounds for the people accused of witchcraft in the early 1800s, late 1700s, and the area that they did the trials and killed some of the people, unjustly I might add, was later the very location where the Danvers mental hospital that's used for the movie Session 9, and it was Lovecraft's basis for Arkham Asylum. But
the amazing thing too is the dates. When you go to the stones and you see dates from the 1600s, you just don't see that other places. I mean, when I was growing up as a kid in Indiana, I was always just amazed to see stones that went back to the early 1800s. But when you see things that date to the death in the mid to late 1600s, it's kind of eye-opening at the amount of history there is in that particular city and how long it goes back.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking about Danvers State Hospital. Now and I can't understand why they tore it down, because it was a Gothic. It was declared historic, but they still tore the side wings off, and the main building they turned into condos or townhouses.
Right. I was in touch recently with the new buyer, and the developer up there actually is very pro in rebuilding it, bringing it back to its original condition. The main center building facade is still there, but like you said, the wings and everything are gone. The only way you can tell now is watch the movie Session 9 before they tore part of it down. I wrote extensively about it in the book Haunted Asylums through Schiffer Publishing a couple of years ago, and it really struck me as one of the places that I would love to go see, and I was excited to talk to the land developer. And when I spoke to him on the phone a few days ago asking if we could go out and film there, he was very excited about it, as long as we're preserving the history of it and telling people what it was about, because they weren't very happy when the places were turned into condos, although it's highly unlikely they're going to evict people just to rebuild the facility back to its old glory. But I really can't comment yet on what the future of the building is right now.
I know I showed the viewers some of the headstones. Actually, they weren't on the ground, they were laid flat, of those that were a couple of them that were hung, that I was able to find on the web. And then one fella, actually George Burroughs, he was hung for being declared a devil.
Yes. There was another gentleman, I can't remember what his name was, but he was the very defiant one who, when they tried to apply a pile of rocks on his chest to get a confession out of him, his last words were "more rocks," because he knew the charges were bogus and he was angry at them, and he knew he was going to die anyway.
Yeah, I had heard that story as well. Okay, anything else you want to say?
It reminds me of that new TV show that they put on WGN called Salem. I don't know if you guys have watched it or not. It deals with the Salem witch trials. But, of course, a lot of it's just, of course, fiction, but it's based on some of the historical backgrounds. It's a fun show if you ever get a chance to watch it.
Okay, what's it called?
Salem.
Oh, I don't...
It's on WGN. They just started doing original programming, and that was the first show that they did. And it'll be back next spring.
I don't know what WGN is.
It's based out of Chicago. It's kind of like TBS and TNT, except it's out of Chicago, and they've gone national.
Oh, all right, I'll have to check that out and see if I get that.
Yeah.
All right, we have one last location, and this is Nightmare Gallery.
Oh, wow. That place is amazing. To put it, for fans of the horror genre, which Eric knows, I love my classic horror movies, the Universal Studios, Hammer Studios, and it's like a gallery of waxworks and such, just dedicated to all the classic monsters over the years. And the owner is so enthusiastic about what he does, and he's met a lot of the major stars from the past and present in the field of horror. And walking through this museum, Eric, am I right? It's just exhilarating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, whether you like the old classics, like Nosferatu, that they named the building after, all the way up to the Alien saga and Pumpkinhead, and various zombie Night of the Living Dead remake. They have a little set there. Or you just want to see the guy's private collection of autographed photos. It's a real treat for anybody who loves the horror genre.
And this is all there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, for me personally, loving Gothic architecture, I love how the guy even built the sets around his sculpts. The stonework and everything, and the carved buttresses. It's just amazing what this guy has done with the place.
Absolutely, and he's got the thing is, he has such a love for it, which you can see. And believe me, for fans of the genre, they will definitely appreciate it, and they will enjoy talking with the owner.
So again, this was Nightmare Gallery, and it's the Monster Museum. Now, is this Does this place have any known hauntings that you know of?
No, this isn't a place that's known for hauntings. It's more celebrating the horror in cinema. It's what it is. It's a That's how I'll describe it. A celebration of horror in cinema.
Wow.
Now, there's definitely a tie-in for the people that love the paranormal. I mean, 90% of the conventions that I've traveled in the last 5 years, meeting people and finding out different locations like asylums and haunted hospitals and all that, you find the crossover between horror and paranormal in the fan base that it's almost a given that they have to put both under one roof, or Scarefest, Parahorror, things like that. And the fans just go crazy over it. They love one just as much as the other. And some of the movies like Annabelle and The Conjuring, I mean, they're based on stories of like the Warrens and other people. It's been part of our culture ever since the remake of the Lizzie Borden. They did the Amityville Horror has been done twice now. All kinds of fun yet slightly educational programs that people put out. So, I think it's we would be quite remiss if we didn't try to focus a little bit on everything.
Mm-hmm. But you do mainly focus on the macabre and the bizarre, don't you?
Yeah.
We try to do a little bit of everything.
I mean, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to give everybody something that they'll enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Any plans for a second book, for more locations? I'm sure there's so many more locations.
When we're ready, we've got enough material for Eric. How many books do you think we could put with the material we've been collecting over the past couple years?
Well, to be honest, what we have in the first book right now is 196 locations, and since the book came out early this year, our own research plus social media, the fans getting a hold of us saying, hey, what about this, what about this? We've got over 500 locations now spanning the entire world, not just the U.S. So, there's definitely the possibility of more books and a spin-off show of Erie Abroad.
Oh, I think Kevin's phone went dead.
Oh.
Sorry, Kevin. He's got my phone. Should I try and call him on the other line? We're just about done, though.
Go ahead. I'm sure he'd want to say some last words to people. That sounded rather ominous.
Oh, his last words?
Yes. I didn't realize when it came out that that's what it might sound like to other people.
All right, hopefully he'll pick up. Whoop. All right, Kevin, come on. Whoops. Sorry about that, viewers.
Technology.
Eric wanted to know if you had any last words you'd like to say.
Well, we have been so hard at work for this for so long, and it's such a love of ours. We're really hoping to get the show we based on this out hopefully soon to the public, and follow up with a lot more exciting locations, because the book itself, they didn't put a lot of them in the first one. There just wasn't enough space. So we're just excited to give the fans and others what they want, and I think they're going to enjoy it.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Eric, would you stay on for a minute?
Oh, certainly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Kevin.
Have a great night.
Oh, yeah, Kevin, thanks so much. It was a pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great night.
You too. Good night. Hey, Eric. So in researching you, I found out that you you're involved in the occult. You know about the occult and Satanism. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct. I've been researching and writing this particular genre for a decade now.
So, what do you do on the occult? Do you just research it and then you write a book? Like, I know I had seen that video with you at St. Albans, and I had asked you, because on the video they were talking about some symbolism that was written on the walls.
Correct. Actually, one of the people doing the interview for me, Rebecca, is one of our co-hosts on the show now, and they had some extra time and wanted to find out for Adam's other show, Resident Undead, what my opinions were of the graffiti on the Goat Man, that they had found drawings based on him down in the basement of the facility. So I was more than happy to impart what I knew based on my involvement in the Church of Satan and my historical research on Pan and Lucifer, Cernunnos, the Celtic deity version that has a lot of similarities to the satyrs and Pan of Greek and Roman mythology.
So was there, now somebody actually drew a picture of Goat Man?
I know that Rebecca did when she was getting her own personal reading down there. The image came to her, but I believe that there were pentacles, pentagrams, and certain other defacings of the building with spray paint. I would hardly call it art. It's pure vandalism, if you ask me. But yes, there were signs and indications down there that people were either dabbling in the occult or, doing the stereotypical Hollywood version of it.
So you don't believe there was, so in your opinion, do you believe that there really was any rituals happening at St. Albans?
Not from the evidence they were able to provide me. I mean, without having gone there myself and done some hands-on examination of the evidence, I think it's just young kids over the years vandalizing, doing illegal entry and spray painting, because it's a spooky place. It has a history to it, and the local legends, things like that, I'm sure they're just adding to the hype out of either their own fear and ignorance or wanting to, leave their own mark on the place to get attention.
Interesting. Were there any other asylums or sanatoriums that you had gone to that there was any sign of satanic rituals happening?
It's been at least 3 or 4 years since I wrote Haunted Asylums, but I do know there were a couple of them that investigators and law enforcement both had gone into, saying that there were candle drippings, pentagrams, and things like that, where they felt that some people, local groups, were doing rituals there, but they weren't associated with the official Church of Satan. No.
So it appears anyway that when a building goes vacant, that these groups go in there and start doing their rituals because they need. I don't know if it's because of the history behind the building, or they just need a location to do their stuff.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that the obscure nature of it is very inviting for them, and they're obviously drawn to the location because of how creepy it is, and they feel that possibly that it's enhancing whatever magical working that they're trying to do or summon whatever. Like I said, I'm a skeptic, and if you really know a lot about the official Church of Satan by Anton LaVey, they don't believe in the devil or demons, so it's more of a symbolism psychologically for them. But that's the nature of another show altogether.
Yes, would you come on the show, and would you do a show with me, please? God, I saw a subject for you. Satan and the Devil?
Yes, I was on the Lexi show, a Michigan-based program by Lexi Allen, who's got a channel on the BET program where they interviewed me on the Church of Satanism, devil worship, things like that. So I'd be delighted to come back on your program and share what I know about that.
Okay, I'd love to have you on and talk about that subject. Thanks so much. Well, Eric, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. Would you now? Do you have a website? Is there? Can you tell the viewers how they can buy your book?
They can get a hold of me through corvisnocturnum.com. All of my books are there. My public appearances and biography are listed. You can find various videos on that page. And there are also, if you have a college or a bookstore, a library, or a convention that you'd like to have me come out and speak or talk about the different books that I've done, there is a way to get a hold of either myself or my agent, Kimberly Oliveras, with Celebrity Collective Management. Her email is on there as well.
Mm-hmm. Best of wishes to you on this book, and I know are you trying to get this book into a TV series, or what are you doing with it?
Yes, we've signed on with Sunset Studios down in Florida as a co-production company with Kevin and myself. And we've already got a director, we've got a post-production crew, lighting, sound. We have all the locations thanks to the overwhelming support of all the fans out there. And we've also got backing by the city of Salem, the city of Providence, Rhode Island. I've talked to the Department of Tourism in St. Augustine. Kevin gave me their information. So we're getting more and more places wanting to get us out there as a television series. And we're negotiating with several of the networks right now, but we haven't quite found the right home for it yet.
I wish you the best of luck. This sounds like would be a fabulous TV series, because I don't think anybody's ever done anything like that. Can you imagine? We can watch. I mean, they'll do haunted locations, but to actually do a travel guide with macabre and bizarre locations, because I know there's a lot of people into that, and I'm included as well. I love it.
I mean, there's so much to it. I mean, there's places to eat at, to sleep at, to shop at, to just see if you're visiting. And these could be places in your own hometown that you've never even heard about that we've discovered for you.
Oh, okay. Well, you ought to come to California. Everybody seems to stay back east.
I've got a long list there.
Oh, you do? Oh, I'd like to hear it.
There's at least 40 different locations in California.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to talk to you about that. Okay. Well, Eric, thanks so much for joining me tonight. And Kevin, if you're still listening or watching, thank you as well. I enjoyed having you too. And Eric, I will get a hold of you, because I really would like you to come back on the show and talk about that subject for the viewers. I'd love to do a show on that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Good night. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.